Alright, Andre, you jerk. I hear you got to actually play Detective Pikachu in English, something I've been waiting to do for 2 freaking years. But of course, you're the one who gets to play it because you live out in San Francisco. So, details, how was it? How'd you like it?
Right. Yeah, so I actually did get to play the game on top of being able to interview the creators, which we already posted a full video of, or should have by this point. So make sure you go check that out. Otherwise, yeah, I got to play about 2 chapters, or maybe more like a chapter and a half, of Detective Pikachu in English. So I played through the first chapter, as well as part of the third chapter. Now, before we get too deep into this, Derek, I think a key part that we should explain, which I will talk about in our interview, is that this is far more than what you got to play a couple years ago with the Japanese release. Because as it turns out, the Japanese release is still part of this game, obviously. It's the first 3 chapters of this game now, even though it wasn't split into chapters originally. But now, there's 6 more chapters, 6 brand new chapters, making for 9 total. So they've added a lot more to this game, and of course being able to play it in English this time seemed to make a lot more sense than it did to you at the time.
Yeah, that's the really funny thing, is I did that stream how long ago and actually got really involved in the game despite knowing none of the language. I just got really into it and still had a lot of fun and was dying for an English release. And I found out soon after I stopped the stream is that, oh yeah, it ends. It was supposed to be an episodic game, and as we can tell from you saying that there was 9 chapters total, basically there were supposed to be 2 more episodes, but for whatever reason, they decided to combine it into one complete release, which honestly I think is for the better.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Especially with how quick the first chapter was. Like, well, I mean, you beat the first game in what, 3 to 4 hours without even knowing Japanese.
Yeah, so, something like that.
So this definitely makes it a more well-rounded experience. It seems like, in that it does seem to be a full, proper game this time. And yeah, once again, being able to play in English actually made it, quite a bit easier to go through.
I would say just a little bit,
yeah,
but. Yeah, I mean, the sense that I got, though, just playing it in Japanese was that it's basically almost an adventure game.
It's been 2 months since my dad disappeared. I've come here to Rhyme City to start looking for clues. I'm gonna start by speaking with his friends and coworkers.
So quick recap, in case you're not familiar with it. You play as Tim Goodman, not to be confused with John Goodman, and he travels to this town called Rhyme City to look for clues as to the disappearance of his father, who went missing 2 months earlier. But during this, he comes across some Apoms that start giving him some trouble, as well as a little girl nearby, and they steal her necklace. And during this whole kerfuffle, he comes across Detective Pikachu, this little adorable guy, adorable Pikachu, that he can actually understand, and that goes both ways. Detective Pikachu can understand him as well.
Could have been more gentle setting me down.
Sorry?
Are you able to understand what I'm saying?
Now, so they decide to pair up to try and find this missing girl's necklace, and of course it leads them on a whole, wide array of adventures, it seems like, throughout the game. But the interesting thing is that no one else can understand Detective Pikachu. Only Tim can. And so you kind of have to work together, because Tim can't understand other Pokemon either, only Detective Pikachu. So Tim will take over talking to other people to get, to find out facts about what's going on, and Detective Pikachu will handle talking to Pokemon. And yeah, so this pair go out together to solve, to gather clues and solve these cases in what is, basically a somewhat simple adventure game. But it seems like you can kind of stumble your way through based on what I played, where talking to people will give you clues on what to do next. Detective Pikachu is always there to give you some idea of what to do next as well, like whether you should go talk to someone, or whether there's some evidence you should check out. And yeah, so the whole idea is you gather testimony, you gather evidence, and then eventually you'll reach a point where you have to combine it all together. So in the first chapter, for instance, I had to look for clues as to where these Apoms ran off to. And those clues were specifically like these little handprints or tail prints, these tail handprints they would leave with like mustard stains and whatever else. That kind of hinted as to where they ran off to, combined with the testimony of other people you would talk to. So once you had all your evidence and testimony, it was time to start deducing. That is, putting all the knowledge you have together and trying to figure out where exactly these Apoms went. In this case, they presented you with a map on the touchscreen, where you had to then drag icons to, pointing to the direction they ran off in. And then Detective Pikachu would tell you whether you got it right or wrong, at which point you may have to do it again. So yeah, it started off pretty simple, but I encountered a situation later in Chapter 3 where I definitely had to think a little bit more, where I had to learn what types of these different Pokemon were, which if you don't know them already, you can go to a library in this particular chapter where you can read books to find out, and then you had to use that knowledge to solve a puzzle or a passcode to open a door that was locked by someone else in this laboratory that locked up for whatever reason.
So I do have one big question for you, since you have played this in English. How did you like the voice acting?
My questions have to be answered by you? I heard of being protective, but yeesh. Oh well.
I think it's actually quite good. Detective Pikachu sounds, I think, perfect for the role. Like, a lot of people wanted Danny DeVito, of course. I think this is pretty much as close as you can get without it actually being Danny DeVito. So he's got, like, this gruff, like, you know, old man's voice, and it's really funny coming from that small body, especially from a character that usually sounds like Pikachu or whatever. Wow, that was horrible. Once again, I should never do impressions of Nintendo characters or anything. But even beyond Detective Pikachu, like, all the characters talk in this game, at least during cutscenes, whereas during gameplay it's primarily text.
What are you doing, Fridge? The gas came all the way over here!
Oh, hey Nina, you're here. I just wanted to show Tim how the garbage just disappears.
In exchange for a nice cloud of poison gas. You shouldn't show it off so much.
But I thought, yeah, the voice cast is well done. Like, this is a high production, high quality Pokemon game. Like, I actually want future Pokemon games to take some lessons from this game, where you have these really detailed environments combined with, you know, really good voice work. So yeah, it's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's the thing that immediately just caught my eye, is that, you know, you had the full voice acting, which was pretty cool, other than, of course, like during gameplay when you're just having little text bubbles pop up. But also the fact that this game looks pretty dang good on the 3DS. Like, it's pretty freaking gorgeous on that screen.
It looks really good. Like, almost to the point where they could just up-res it and almost call it a Switch game. Like, it looks really impressive for the handheld.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those games, like, there's a reason I've been excited for this game ever since 2016. I got this little taste, and it didn't give me any more, and it's sort of stuck in my head. So it's actually really cool that we're actually going to get to play it in a month.
Yeah, I mean, even Pikachu's, like, facial animation, which of course is where the whole thing started with that tech demo, that creepy tech demo from years ago. Like, it looks really good in the final form. Like, he emotes well. He really feels like a true character, like, more so than any Pokemon really has ever before.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, did you find out anything new about the game, or is it just sort of keeping you to, like, here's the stuff that if you hadn't played the Japanese version, you're now learning about and you got a better idea?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, if you've been following Detective Pikachu up to this point, what I played is what already existed in Japanese, just now in English. By and large, like, it's, you know, what you expect based on your gameplay or anyone's gameplay of the Japanese version. However, you know, as I mentioned, there is a lot more to it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see those later chapters, so that's still kind of a mystery to me. I don't know what all's coming later beyond Chapter 3. But, you know, I did talk to the developers. They gave us a little bit more info, which you can find in that own video. But also, I found out what the Detective Pikachu amiibo does, which I don't think we knew before. And that's the fact that if you scan it in, it'll unlock all the cutscenes up to that point of time, up to whatever chapter you're at in the game. Now, you'll normally unlock these cutscenes as you play through the game as well, that you can access from a menu, but the thing is, there's apparently optional cutscenes that you may not get if you don't explore particular, like, paths, or, you know, or if you fail, or if you don't fail, or if you do fail at certain points in the game, that having Detective Pikachu will automatically unlock all those cutscenes. So you don't have to go down, like, every branching path or whatnot to find them, as the amiibo will now take care of that for you.
So that actually seems like a pretty decent use for the amiibo, honestly. Like, it saves you busy work, which...
Right, exactly.
I can't be too up against, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not something, like, you'd really miss either if you don't have it. Like, it's a nice little feature to have, but you don't need it. You can go unlock them yourself. I guess beyond all this, too, I haven't mentioned the new Easy Mode as well, which is a brand new addition to the game, wasn't in the Japanese release, which now just gives you a few more clues if you get stuck. I believe there's a light bulb icon on the touchscreen, or on the screen rather, that you can activate, and that'll bring up, you know, additional clues beyond what Detective Pikachu would normally tell you, because even he will pop up throughout the game, where his icon will blink, and if you tap on him, he'll tell you, hey, we should go do this thing. So this goes the extra mile, and will really walk you through every part of the game, it seems like.
Really allow kids to just enjoy the story and the silly characters and the fun scenarios and see what they need to do and make some forward progress, which does make sense.
Right.
Yeah. Was there anything else that really stood out to you about the game as you played it?
Not too much. I mean, I think what you see is what you get. As we said before, it's pretty much an adventure game with a Pokemon aesthetic. It feels unique, especially by Pokemon standards, and it looks great. The production values are high quality, and I had fun. It was fun going through these cases with these production values in particular. You're talking to these different Pokemon, seeing their reactions, seeing all these characters' reactions. And even though the puzzles might have been, on the simple side based on what I played, they may get more challenging later on too, by the way. I only played the first 3 chapters. But even with as simple as the ones that I played were, I was still having a good time. Like, they're complex, just complex enough to keep you engaged without it seeming completely mindless. While, of course, still being accessible to, pretty much anyone of any age, I think. But yeah, I had fun. Like, I could see myself actually playing through this for as simple as, the gameplay is, and the story seemed to be as well. It still seemed to be engaging. So, I should also mention, too, that there are little, action-based cutscenes, like quick-time events that happen, where you either have to mash a button or time an attack, or not attack per se, but like time dodging, like an incoming hot dog bun for whatever reason. I mean, this game is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, too, at the same time. Like, they kind of lean into the really wacky concept of this being a talking Pikachu, which is something I really appreciate. Like, it is something that is quite different from what we've seen, and I like it for that. Like, it seems to be something that's kind of off the wall, and what it does, it seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, it definitely has these off the wall moments, but I also remember a particular cutscene. I don't know if you got to see it when you got to go to your preview event, but there's one scene that was like, ooh, this is a lot darker than I thought it would be. But yeah, it's one of those things where there's just a little bit, there's just enough darkness in there, but that to keep you
a mystery.
Yeah, keep a mystery there. But of course, plenty of other silly aspects about it, and I think that's the real key of this game. Just from my playtime with it and why it stuck with me for so long. It is charming as hell, and it seems like it even charmed you, a pretty much non-Pokemon fan, which is impressive.
Yeah, right, exactly. It got me interested. And to show you how much of a non-Pokemon fan I am, I legitimately had trouble during that passcode sequence I mentioned where you have to know the Pokemon types. I'm like, oh man, I have no freaking idea. So thank God for the library they had in that chapter where you can go and read the books, because the person giving the demo to me did stress that this game is made for everyone. Like, you don't have to be a Pokemon fan to make it through this game, which I proved, because everything you need to get through it is there within the context of the game. And the game also does a really good job of allowing you access to everything you've come across. There's like a case log that lets you review all the dialogue you've had, and you can also review like the relation, all the notes you've taken, like with all the characters you've talked to, the Pokemon you've talked to, as well as any evidence you found and things of that nature. It really does make you feel like a detective.
That's awesome. Well, any final thoughts on Detective Pikachu and your playtime with it so far?
It seems fun, it has a really great presentation, and I actually want to play more, which is something that I guess I say a fair amount at preview events, but this is a game I think I may actually follow up on. Like, I actually do want to see where all it goes, and especially with what those later chapters might add or bring to the game. So yeah, definitely look forward to our full review, and probably not too long since the game comes out in North America on March 23rd.
Yeah, good month for that, and sounds like you had fun, which I'm impressed with, so yeah, I feel even more jealous. So anyway, that is our early look at Detective Pikachu and Andre's time with it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and of course be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Detective Pikachu, Pokemon, and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.